Hi guys, my name's Laszlo. Um, I've had a few friends in the last few years asking me to put some video together about my experience in where I get my views, just in general. It's been an interesting journey the last few decades, especially last few decades for me. And I thought I'd put a video together, the first one like this. And I always find when I'm working, I come up with some more relaxed with my ideas. They come to me, all my thoughts. So I thought I'd do it while I'm making some bread. So I'm kneading some bread, multigrain. I put a bit of, I chopped up some, how do they call it, pumpkin seeds into it, which is really good for guys who are my age. Actually, for pumpkin seeds, good for prostate, they claim. So fingers crossed, I won't have any prostate problems. And also drinking a bit of Hungarian Riesling, or they call it Olas Riesling. I got it from a nearby winery, which is really really interesting. I love exploring some of the local vineyards because in 2006 I travelled to Hungary and I decided to settle. I put my money in, I sold up everything in Australia, put money in a bank account. And I first thought I'd stay here for a few months. I think it was after a couple of months I decided, yeah, I like it. It was really interesting. The people, the whole experience of coming to a whole new culture. Even though my parents were Hungarian, a lot of the stories and that, from going to Hungarian club as a kid, growing up like in a multicultural country and having some kind of a identity, I think really helped in Australia, especially now that I've been here. I've studied a lot of lectures on all different kind of areas of history, culture, religion, theology. I've attended, but I think I'll go back to originally where I when I was in Australia. Oh, there was an occasion where, unfortunately, well, maybe even fortunately, I actually look upon it as a positive thing. In 2000, I ended up getting cancer, and that would kind of really shook me up because I was finally in my 32 when it happened, and I kind of thought, usually happens to people older, after 50, 60. Anyway, so kind of shook me up. Went through all the chemo bullshit, and eventually, while I was contemplating why I got it, going through all the, having to change your whole lifestyle, it kind of makes you question life deeper because you think, well, what happens if what happened if I would have died? What have I done in my life that really have my achievements? Or I was only 32, still single now, but it was, yeah, quite of a shock. So then I started asking deeper questions about life in general. What's the purpose, So I started going to all kinds of lectures. First time reading books, on, well, I call them New Age now, but back then it was kind of all new to me because growing up in Australia, it's a really secular country. Everybody's kind of pretty anti-religion. Everyone's pretty materialistic with their thoughts and their spirituality. And a lot of people don't even know the basics on even understanding what materialism really means. Even I struggled at the beginning, but I was really curious. And I think everybody in their heart has this curiosity, and everyone's search. I think it's like the the truth written into your heart, or szívbe, in Hungarian they call it szívbe írt igazság, or the truth written in your heart. And I find a lot of Hungarian literature and poetry and culture just abundant in philosophy, especially Christian philosophy, Catholic. And I was always interested in Hungarian history, culture, because obviously that's my background, my roots. So I used to always ask my uncles, my dad, all kinds of questions about, what was Hungary like, and even other Hungarians, older people, always curious. They had a lot of famous sports people, philosophers, inventors, carburetor, helicopter, penicillin, just a few off the top of my head, were invented, hologram. So even Nikola Tesla, he studied in the Hungarian Budapest Academy of Science and Sciences before he went overseas, And he spoke Hungarian as well. So Nikola Tesla has got a bit of Hungarian influence, because he was under the Hungarian kingdom when he was rock and rolling around Europe. So anyway, so getting back to my life in general, so I went through the rigmarole of getting over cancer, and I attended a few courses, like lectures and that stuff in Australia, like going to first, there was a lot of Gnostic stuff. There was that got my interest, because most of the books you pick up in bookstores, it's all about this self-love. Like you got The Secret was a big thing back then. And then a lot of those people within The Secret, there's a lot of authors in there. That I started reading some of the books. And a lot of it's, at first it's, it makes you feel good, you start getting all excited about the, it's got a lot of half-truths in there. And, the trouble is, a lot of times when you go to school, especially in Australia, you start learning, a lot of this stuff is indoctrination, what you learn. But you don't realise that, because you think you live in a free country. And they keep telling you that. They keep telling you that. It's freedom, beautiful democracy. It turns out a lot of it is, as I got on and on, I started unravelling a lot of it's deception, lies. So, over time you kind of have to empty out all those, what's built up in you, and you have to replace that vacuum with truth. And it's like a Sherlock Holmes, become like a Sherlock Holmes, trying to grab at anything and everything. And a lot of times you come across a lot of disinformation, which majority of 90% of it is. But at the same time, I think it's good, because I ended up learning a lot of stuff about Gnosticism, Gnostic teachings like Madame Blavatsky, Maria Montessori, Steiner school. A lot of it's all, a lot of people use that in mainstream in West, but they don't really realise what it's all about. A lot of it's all about self-love, self-worship, Luciferian occultism, even Harry Potter. All these modern day teachings are all ways to trap your soul. And to be honest, it really caught me off guard. But anyway, it's good, because I actually went quite deep. I even joined it was a Gnostic group in Indrapilli. They had it at one of the local halls there. They were just advertising with, I think it was a leaflet drop or pamphlets. I'll check it out. And this chick got up there. She wasn't bad looking either. She got up there and she used to talk about the whole deeper meaning of Gnosticism, the power of Gnosticism and self-worship and reincarnation and all that stuff. A lot of Eastern philosophies and New Age, all like that. They all cover it. Even the early Christians, a lot of them, Manichaeism and was a big. It was another false teaching of the original teachings of Jesus. So and that's gone really mainstream. And what I notice is in Australia also big groups of Masons. You got more Mason temples and churches in a lot of areas and everywhere. And a lot of people who are in it don't even realise what it's all about. And the trouble is because they don't understand a lot of the terminology they use because they haven't studied properly. A lot of them use this idealism instead of realism. They think, oh, it's ideology. A lot of times ideology, if they really know it from a traditional standpoint, actually stands for I come up with an idea, and that idea, I actually make it my own reality. So that means everybody can come up with some bullshit version and say that's my truth, which in reality isn't truth. It's your imagination and fantasy, to the point where today all these diversity movements and all these stupid, I don't know, I can imagine I'm a girl, I can imagine I'm a boy, I can imagine I'm a teenager, anything, and a lot of places are legally accepting it. Now you have guys going to MMA, fighting, beating up other women. You got, I think there's even one I heard the other day from a friend mentioning that from a guy joined, he thought he was a teenage girl, so he joined a netball team or softball team or something like that. Absolute madness, chaos. It's exactly what the Masons want to do. They screw with your fucking head. Excuse the French. And a lot of the Freemasonry and revolutions through history actually came from anything revolution named through history usually comes from the secret societies. They're usually infiltrated, like the French Revolution, even the Hungarian Revolution. That was all orchestrated by certain people who wanted to propagate Hungarians so they could eventually take over by force. And again, it's until I got to Hungary, I used to read all these books about the opposite thing. Oh, the Hungarians got up and they fought for the truth, But the trouble was they had communists who, or the Talmudists, I call them as well. They infiltrated a lot of the universities, and they got in there and they they even dropped weapons around parts of the city. Obviously not the big weapons, a lot of rifles and stuff in telephone boxes. They even allowed the armory not to be guarded, so the people can easily get in there and grab arms. So there could be an uprising, so they can act like, oh, the people have uprised, so they can now, or revolted, I should say, because uprising is a proper word if it's a root-based uprising. Like, for example, from grassroots. But when you got it infiltrated provocators in there trying to get the people to revolt, and then later they got a more sinister plan, which they did, because what they had to do was, as we all know, or not many people realise, that communism and socialism is the most filthiest system in the whole world. Because what they do is they don't actually give the people any choice. They just come in. First of all, they take out all our intellectuals, all the leaders, anybody with any influence, teachers, priests, anybody with influence. They take them out, imprison them, beat them, kill them, and then if they don't comply, they kill them. And they imprison them for years, decades, many of them. And then they just put in their own puppet people, and eventually the next generation, about 25 years later, they're all brainwashed and indoctrinated, because anybody who spoke up, they had informers in homes, between relatives, in schools. As soon as someone mentioned something, you get a knock on the door. the parents couldn't teach the old ways, the old truth, even though they tried. A lot of times they'd be oppressed, so, or beaten, or, as I said before, the worst thing was killed. So eventually the next generation are brainwashed, and then they turn against their parents. And when all they have to do is get the majority done, and they actually infiltrate the arts through the books, through films, and then slowly that's the entertainment for young people through the music and theatre, and they twist everything. They make anything genuinely that was truth and culture, just slightly, they put the tracks to one side, and then they eventually they change their ways. But it's just a very subtle little things. But the most important people, they don't, eventually over time, they don't realise how important those little points are. And then they'll totally take the meaning, or the real meaning, away from what the person's supposed to know, which is good for their soul. So yeah, there's many examples. But in general, I just want to summarise, because I don't want to get too bogged down on points, because I could talk for hours. So this bread's coming along good. I need a bit of wine. As I say, you have to. In Hungary, they say, "How long do you have to knead the bread for?" And then the old lady go, "Oh, until the sweat on the ceiling." And I used to laugh and go, "Oh, what do you mean by that?" Well, you got sweat on the ceiling as your forehead. So there's a lot of good little cliches like that. Very good. It's just from an old guy in his 60s, 70s, or made this wine. It's a nice drop. Yeah, so anyway, so I came to Hungary in 2006 after learning a lot of stuff, mainly New Age stuff, all kinds of crap in Australia, and joining all groups. Unitarian group was cool. Again, nice people, and the trouble is there again. I could tell stories about just that group. Some of the so many good people, but they're so misled, totally misled with their belief systems, and a really twisted understanding of religion, and not even understanding. It's just like a mishmash of everybody's their own truth. Trouble is, everybody can't have their own truth. There's only one truth. That's it. Everybody have my own truth. That's chaos. This is what the Masons want to screw with you with. Absolute chaos. All this yoga crap of self-love, and every pose is supposed to be like animal worship or a god animal. A lot of those animal poses are parts of their gods, because they believe in many gods. And they believe in self-divinity as well. You keep getting reincarnated. I tell you what, I don't want to get reincarnated and come back to this hell on earth again. I just want to go once and do my best, and then end up in the right place, or whatever. It's in God's hands. But a lot of people get scared. They love to study all kinds of Eastern philosophies, and it's all about spiritualism and the ether. But as soon as it comes to Christianity, especially Australia, everybody goes, that's so uncool or dorky. Oh, bullshit. It's just the other way around. A lot of Aussies are totally, sadly, have been fucked over by the Masons. They're totally fucked over. It's interesting, even when I was learning modern history at school, the teachers were teaching the French Revolution, socialism, everything like that. And it's all there to try and make you feel like that's the modern way, the New Age, or the New Age trash. And also the other aspect of it was the even the headmasters. It's really interesting. You always hear in the media about, this Pope and this pedophilia, that pedophilia. Oh, but I tell you what, all my life I was in Australia, I knew a few priests. Not one of them were pedophiles. I'm not saying that they're not. There is, because they're infiltrated as well. And there are cases of it, obviously. But every single one of them I came across were noble, very, very warm-hearted. But for example, when I went to primary school at Windsor State School, we had a Yiddish principal, Mr. Guggenberger. He actually even became tried to be a local politician there in Windsor. I don't know. I think he went for one election and he didn't do well, so I think he gave up. I don't know really. He had a huge beard. I think he spoke 6 or 7 languages. He spoke Hungarian, Yugoslav, Serbian, Italian, German, Yiddish, English. And he was at first he seemed pretty charismatic, because he spoke. Dad said, "Oh, he's pretty cool. He speaks so many languages." And as we say in Hungarian, the more languages you speak, the richer you are. So yeah. So anyway, it turned out when I was about 17, 18, I had an 18th birthday party, and I had a couple of. And when we went to school, primary school, we had a few Indigenous kids, but I got on with them. It was diversity. I had a lot of friends. Anybody was good to me. I didn't give a shit about their colour. Because you grow up as long as they were good. But the thing is, these guys, you have to be a bit cautious of them too, because you have to keep them from arm distance. Like, be friends with them, but you don't let them too close because they steal and they lived a pretty I don't know, primitive life, these guys. Because they're ones at WAG school. They used to have big delinquents, always in trouble with the teachers, always getting sent to the office. I think they even loved getting beaten or the strap and the meter stick, across the arse. You can see as soon as the teacher sent them into principal, they actually want to play up so they can go get the meter rule across their arse in the principal's office. And that was Mr. Guggenberger. And he used to have a little leather strap, I don't know, about 12 inches in the strap. He used to have it in his along his belt. Anyway, it turned out when I was 17, 18, I had my 18th birthday party. I invited a lot of my school friends, They went to Kedra and I ended up going to Newmarket High. But still, because I lived in a local area, I still kept some contact with them. So, oh yeah, it will be cool, I'll invite you guys over. It was under the house. It was around about 100 people. It was my twin sister and I. We used to have big parties because of she used to invite her friends and me, and we'd have the family. So it was a kind of combination, not just young people. We had all ages. It was really cool. So we had a big parties, and we had Trevor, Frankie, a few other guys, Stephen, and I remember they coming over and we're talking, and I remember talking to Frankie and a few guys, and they said, "Oh, Mr. Guggenberger, he used to get us to." It was Dwayne, Mark Jones, and Trevor Johnson. He used to get us to stand in front of them and we'd masturbate in front of him. I said, "You bullshit." I said, "Mr. Guggenberger?" I said, "Yeah." And so he is a damn pedophile. And he was secular, he was I remember he was a big he used to always talk about communism, and this is my experience. So I was shocked at the time to hear about it, because back then I didn't even understand what communism or what socialism was until I just heard that, a lot of times they say it's good aspects of it, others say, oh, it was brutal. So at the time you don't know what to believe, because in Australia there's all kinds of people that say different things, So anyway, so I ended up, that was my experience with hearing about that. And when I went to high school, there was a deputy principal. His name was Mr. Gill. And he had no issues really with me. If anything, he liked me, but I never had like any I didn't pick up on anything because I wasn't aware of how these predators prey on people. But he, at a couple of occasions, we had a few fights at school with other students, and I was protecting some of the younger students, and he saw everything from the office, and he saw I had some bullying was going on, and I ended up stopping the elder guys from beating up this little kid. And then I ended up stepping in and wrestling this guy to the ground. And then when I was on top of him, he yelled out, "Hey, come on, get up to my office, you bastards!" So all these seniors went up there. There was about 6 of them and me, and he's yelling at us and scorning us. Who do you think we are? And then he got them to line up on one side of me on the other. And then he goes, "All you guys have got a week's detention." And then I started walking off, and you come with me, So he got me to go in his office, and he goes, "Sit down." I thought, oh shit, I thought I'm going to get in trouble here, or more trouble. He goes, "Look, Laszlo, I really admire what you did. I saw it right from the beginning. I hate bullying in my school." And he said, "Look, if that ever happens again, or if these guys hassle you after, you come to me, I'll make sure you don't get hurt, or any trouble." The thing is, I wasn't even worried about the other guys because they didn't worry. But I think he was more worried that they might gang up on me or something afterwards. But anyway, so he was pretty cool with me. There was no problem. So I actually admired him. And then I was working part-time in the Myers in the Valley on Friday night, Saturday mornings. And he used to have this old Jeep. He used to go to Hacienda and all these gay bars in the Valley. He's parked his Jeep out there and be hanging around the doorway. And so I used to see him a lot, on the way home from work, he'd be down there. So he was gay, definitely. But yeah, he never made a move on me, but he did on other kids. Like John, there's a guy called John, I won't say his surname, and another guy as well. I can't remember his name. I remember the other guys mentioning it to me in school. And he ended up committing suicide in his 20s. I think he's 22 or 24, and he ended up committing suicide. I'm not sure his name, but this is fact. So yeah, and he was a big communist. I remember again, he used to always try and talk to me about Hungarian communism, because Hungary was still in the 80s when I was going to high school, was still a communist still a communist satellite occupied by the Soviets, and he was always going, "Oh, the goulash communism, how good it is! It's one of the best out of all the Central European or Eastern Bloc." And I used to kind of go, as I said, I wasn't aware of how the politics worked, so I just kind of, yeah, whatever. And so again, communism, secularism, both gay, and pedophiles. There you go. And they're the ones I experienced meeting in Australia. And then I even remember going to Lower Shopping Centre, and you go to the toilets. As soon as you go to the shopping centre, like the toilets, you'd have some deviant old guy there trying to couldn't even do a piss. You'd have to say, many times they'd say, "Fuck off, I'm here to do a piss." And then even the toilet doors were chopped off at the top and bottom so that security can come in and check if there are 2 feet or 2 people in the cubicles, because all the gays used to go there to do their little whatever they had to do. So it wasn't safe, And I remember going to Kalinga Park doing chin-ups, and there used to be a toilet down right next to the chin-up bars. We used to cycle down along the bike track along the creek, and then they used to always hop in each other's cars and go into the toilets. Many times I'd do 3 sets of chin-ups at the chin-up bar, and I see a guy, usually really well dressed, tie, get professional, come over. I said, "Look, you take one more step, you're going to end up in the fucking creek there. I'm here to do chin-ups, not fucking suck dick, so piss off." But yeah, it was a really devious place. And then another time was many times. There was another time where we walk home from the valley at night, and then the car would pull over next to you along the road when you're 14, 15, 16, and go, "Oh, do you want to give a lift home?" And then sometimes I even said, "Yeah, okay." And then next minute he pulled his dick out, I said, "Fuck off, stop your car." And this really happened, This is a really sick. And another time we were going to the Valley Police Club, Yeah, the police club. We're doing the gym, the boxing. It was Victor, me, and another guy, I can't remember, I think it was John. He became a policeman. Both of them actually become policemen. And yeah, this guy come up. He was deaf, an older guy, bit pudgy, bit of like a Darrow looking guy, and he come with a little notepad, you know. So kids, you want to help elderly people because we are obviously brought up with ethics and morals. So he's writing, oh, can you make a phone call for me? We're writing, we're trying to help him understand what he's writing in his little pad. Then one of the guys, I didn't get in the cubicle with him, but one of the other guys got in there trying to help him make a phone call, you know. Each minute he's pulled his dick out and he's trying to rub him up in the phone booth. And then, but the kid was so embarrassed that Happy just got out and said, oh, let's get out of here. And only later he told us what had happened because he was too embarrassed to even mention what had happened. And then we used to see this guy around the neighbourhood a lot, you know, Valley, Lutwich, Windsor, all those areas, you know. And yeah, it was very common. So yeah, they're pretty dark times, you know, growing up in when you're a kid with that kind of stuff being accepted, you know, especially with not accepted, I should say, but more happening around you. It's not a pretty thing. So yeah, that was parts of my childhood with trying to understand life in general. But it's so funny. It's surreal to think about it, but it's reality. It really happens. I just thank God that I was never put in a worse position than I was always able to. Like I had a guardian angel on my shoulder with a little alarm bell going, oh, time to get out. Even a couple of times, and even knocked a couple of them in the head, you know, when I got older, because I used to get so worked up that, fucking hell, you go to a straight bar, go to your own bars, you know, you go to a straight bar and you get someone trying to crack on you, and a lot of times it wasn't even my mind, that the guys, sometimes if someone's friendly, I don't take it the wrong way. Next minute he's trying to make a move on you, you know. You're thinking, fuck off, this is a straight bar. When you go down the valley, there's plenty of bars down there, or even other parts of the city. And yeah, so anyway, remember having a couple of scenarios of that. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so when I came to Hungary, 2006, I'll get back to that. It's like a tree, I go up the branch, but I come back to the trunk again. As I said, I grew up in a secular society, Australia. Everything is secular there. And when I went back only recently, in 2019, I really saw the contrast and how it had progressively got worse over the last decade I was there, or even more. How just people had changed, even so anti-Christ and so occultic, esoteric. They don't even realise a lot of that self-love and all that is roots bounded in Luciferian teachings. It's fair income like that. As again, a lot of people don't even know that substance is what they're teaching. Just say, we wanted that feel-good stuff. Oh, it makes me feel good. And then they'll customise it, pick bits and pieces of teachings. Just, I'll take a bit of that, and they'll customise it and just mix up their own belief system. And then they keep changing depending on how they feel that day. It's all about feeling. I feel like this, I feel like that. It's not about objective fact of what was traditionally passed down from our forefathers. Right? Anyway, when I came to Hungary, I ended up exploring a lot of the countryside, lifestyle, attending lectures on, as I said, culture, religion, history. History fascinated me, and there was a couple of lectures I used to go to. I used to have once a month or even every fortnight, and you learn about different history, about Hungarians. And my Hungarian wasn't that crash hot. like a lot of the words, like sometimes I went to the same lecture 3 or 4 times so I can understand it. But every time I went, I learned something new. Like I picked up something new, and then I went off and studied it in bits and pieces until I wrapped my head around it. But I was that passionate about it that it didn't worry me, you know. As long as I was learning something new all the time, I kind of just, it made me just evolve, you know, and learn a lot of stuff that really important, and a lot of stuff which would have never ever would have come in contact with in Australia, because the sources are just not available, and a lot of sources are only in Hungarian, not even translated. So in a way, I ended up learning a lot of that new vocabulary, which was really interesting. A lot of new vocabulary, because as you know, even a profession, you go into even a job, even from a mechanic to a doctor to a pilot, they all have a different language because that's a profession. So I ended up learning a lot of stuff which a lot of the average Hungarians that I grew up with didn't understand, because they never used that vocabulary. But at the same time, it was good because I expanded my vocabulary, and when I used to watch the news or even documentaries in Hungary, I was quickly pick up on what they were talking about, or even there, mainstream TV, even here, has got a lot of disinformation. Like anywhere, anything mainstream is crap. So keep distance from it. You can watch it, but you got to know how to read it. So, and I've got lectures, and a lot of stuff was just fascinating me. But you know what I found interesting? At the time, I was very novice. I didn't know much about Christianity at all, just the very basics. And to understand history, I was actually forced to kind of learn parts of Christianity, because you can't understand history if you don't know what philosophy in Christianity is about. And if you're secular and you learn with you only get part of the information. You want to understand the full meaning of who's behind a lot of the wars, a lot of the battles, or what was the actually, and even the laws that goes on in a lot of the kingdoms, or afterwards the not even kingdoms, when they become secular states, like from the French Revolution on, and all the wars of the 1848, the national uprisings, who were behind it, and you end up studying who were the Masons, and how they moved around Europe, you know, between the countries, and you can identify their philosophy very quickly. Once you hear them talking, you can pick up on their dialogue very quickly what they're talking about, and then you can, and especially in Australia, because no one really understands who they are or what they represent. They can run rings around the average person. When I got back there, I knew a lot of people just talking mishmash. And it was so easy to pull people up and go, hey, look, no, I didn't do it in a nasty way. I want to do it in a helpful way so people can actually think about what they're saying, or even the meaning behind a lot of those words. A lot of those words actually, they don't even know the definitions of, and they've actually twisted a lot of the words. Like, for example, radical. Radical doesn't mean anything more than getting back to your grassroots of something. I want to be radical about me being Hungarian. That just means I'm going back to the grassroots of my forefathers. Nothing more. You check out definition. So people panic about a lot of these words if you use them. So you have to be you got to think ahead, put your sentences together so the other people don't get a mental block and just get bogged down on one or two words, you know, and they think you're racist, you're a Nazi, you're a chauvinist, you name it, you're labeled straight away, because these Masons have really screwed with people's minds, that you've got to be very cautious how you word things. And all those things I said before, I'm none of them at all. I don't believe in any of those philosophies or those traits. But the thing is, they've totally, they've really screwed with people, big time. So yeah, it's not easy at all. So anyway, so I ended up studying a lot of stuff about the kings, the saints, the different dynasties, all the way back to the antiquity as well, the Middle Ages, Renaissance, um, the kingdoms, how they operated, differences between the kingdoms, and then all the same, the way they ruled. Some of them, like the Hungarian crown, same crown, is the pinnacle. It's the model kingdom of all of the kingdoms, and it's even documented in a lot of places. Um, so the way they governed, they had their legislation, their laws, their oral, written, cultural, traditional laws, all were taken into consideration. And then later, again, right up until the World War II, we had all the crown laws. Only by force, when the Soviets and the West came in and totally by force came in and changed us. And that was the only time they were, for over 1,000 years, we had those laws of the St. Crown. And they were magical. They were the most just laws. Any man, it was only for the nobles, like the Magna Carta. We had the Arambula, which is the Golden Bull of 1222. And that was for common man and nobles. Every man, and even the nobles could, if you were caught being breaking the laws, you'd lose your nobility. I think it was only the French and Hungarian nobles that had this. A lot of the other nobles of Europe, if you were born into nobility, you kept it if you were arsehole or not. But with being noble, you had to actually walk the talk. If you were caught being a bad guy, straight away they trial you. And if they found out you had broken the traditional cultural laws by somehow, you lose your nobility. They trash you and you get back of the line. You don't go to anywhere. You go to the back of the line and you lose everything. That's how it should be. And it's so interesting as well, the whole state, how it was run, the way they governed, and they didn't allow the bankers in. Anything that was made in Hungary stayed in Hungary. So it was the whole thing prevented usury from being screwing up the kingdom. And it was the richest in Central Europe. It's the richest kingdom. There's a Hungarian, and the thing is, they don't teach it like that anymore. Because they want to say we're little, they talk about all the battles we lost. So they try and make us feel like we're weak. But they don't teach us a glorious history of all our accomplishments. And they try and mock our heroes, like Saint Istvan, Rákóczi, Petőfi. I'm not a fan of Petőfi, but still. Reason why, because that's another story. But anyway, but still, they try and make our heroes into losers. So yeah, in politics these days, anywhere in the world, any major party, you have two parties, they've both been controlled by bankers and corporations. So it doesn't matter who you vote for; they're just there to divide us. So I don't believe in any of those arseholes who are there trying to divide us. One thing we should all have in common is don't trust those politicians, and we should go after the Masons, the bankers, and the corporations that want to monopolize our world and bring in the New World Order and the Great Reset. It's a lot of people, this COVID is really getting people to ask questions. And that's what's up the alley. And if we don't do something about it, we're screwed. I don't want to live in a future of a draconian. They tell us how to think, where to go, where not to go. And if you don't comply, you can't go anywhere. No damn way. So guys, wake up. Question everything. Don't question the sources. Who's the speaker in that group? Anyone mainstream on YouTube, question who they are. Like David Icke, he's crazy. Anything to do with the flat Earth, the the crop circles, chemtrails, UFOs, anything like that. Keep arm's length. They're all there to they'll have half truths in there to get you in there, and then once you start, then they'll laugh at you. Oh, look at easy, and they'll laugh at you as your UFO or conspiracy theorists. Keep it away. There's enough good sources out there that are not part of these groups. That's too easy. That's for the lazy people. Lazy people are too lazy to get off their ass and do proper research, objective research. Look at the sources, where they come from, and get down to some good old nut out the real history that has happened. Question a lot of parts. Like what I did was I went back in history, worked my way backwards, and there's some areas where it's a mystery. So it stays a mystery. There's areas there that can be reinforced with good objective source. And they're the ones you use in arguments. If you use flimsy information, the other person is going to make you look like shit and laugh at you or mock you. But if you use sources which have good hardcore evidence, and then if you can realize what the other person's argument back is got a flimsy, you can make him look like shit. And that's what a lot of Masons do. A lot of Masons have got such trashy... I need a drink of wine. Wait a sec. So trashy sources and become so complacent that you can make them look like absolute fools. And I've done that on so many occasions. And then I don't attack them. You attack the source they use. As soon as you attack them, you stoop into the level. Just say, look, the source you're using, this, and this. And always attack the source, not the person, because maybe the person, he actually believes it. And it's like me, I believed a lot of stuff before that I probably would have defended as well. But you might be able to convince that person with your source to think about what he's thinking about or believes. And if you stay humble and calm, you can easily help the other person awaken. And that's what it's all about. And if the other person you can see is headstrong about it, just change the subject and find something in common. And come back and let the person sit on it for a while. And maybe a year or two, or even 5, 10 years, you might come back, hey Leslie, shit, I remember we had that conversation. Then they'll come back and go, wow, you were right. Can you give me some more info? Or I did some research. Well, then you open up. It's fantastic. That's the methodology you should use. Anyway, look, I've got to wash my hands and put this bread out. So it's been good chatting. This is my first conversation on about this topic. I don't know. Put some feedback in the bottom and see what you think. There's so many areas I could talk about. Jeez, I took some notes before, but I just thought, I think the best way to talk is from, it has to come naturally. Your thoughts as you speak, and they don't be forced. And this is what came to me now, so that's what I said. So hopefully you found it as interesting. And hopefully we'll talk about some other stuff down the track. Anyway, guys, God bless. And have a good positive whatever you're doing. And have faith, because there's order in the world, and we have to go for the old order, not the new world order. New world order is chaos, and it's going to lead us down a dark tunnel. So try and open your mind and heart to the real truth, and it's out there, it's available, and don't get too frustrated at first. Just take your time, and even if you read stuff which is you found which was untruthful, at least you understand it and know it, so you can use it in an argument. Yeah, I read about that, you know it. And then nothing worse if you don't know it, then you don't know the essence of it. You're like then you end up looking you can't argue or debate the topic that well. So I'm glad in a way that I did grow up in Australia. I learned all that stuff because I actually lived it. Then when I came to Hungary, and the worst part about it, Hungarians think they want to go to the West. They want all the West, everything's cool in the West. I think, look, you're in a lucky place. You're in the luckiest place on earth. Stay in Hungary. look back, get back to your culture and roots of Hungarian. A lot of people are reading a lot of the stupid Netflix shit and Harry Potter and all that new age film, arts, music is all poison for the soul. All of it poison. And they're half truths. Get out of that mindset and go for the traditional good good stuff. Prior French Revolution, an age of enlightenment is all again trash. It's all there to replace God with man's laws, and use the intellect, not the heart. So on that note, again, God bless, and been great chatting. Bye bye.